Watts, and Harbor Gateway is finally getting the attention it deserves. But what I wasn't prepared for was some of the other things that kind of got thrown my way in office. The job description of council member, I'm sure, never mentioned the words alligator wrangler. But you know, yesterday, as my colleagues and I were behind closed doors for over 4 hours trying to figure out how to balance our city budget without having to lay off or furlough our workers, I sat there wishing for a task as easy as catching an alligator in one of our city parks. There is no place that I would rather be during this economic downturn than in Los Angeles, where I believe we have the pieces to create our own economic stimulus package. We're surrounded by economic engines, and we are poised to create new, good jobs. At the Port of Los Angeles, we've seen a shift in how business is done. Not only are we seeing expansion for the first time in a decade, we have embarked on historic environmental policies, and both of these bring good jobs. More longshore jobs, more building trade jobs, and more green jobs. I was so proud, Jim, to stand with you in 2002 and plug into the first ship into electric power, one of the many environmental firsts at the Port of Los Angeles. And recently we adopted the Clean Trucks program, which will remove 80% of pollution from trucks at the port. But it will also create good jobs for our truck drivers. For years, I've heard the stories of independent truck drivers struggling to make ends meet and cutting corners on truck maintenance, putting themselves and the public in danger. I talked to Felipe Lopez, a truck driver that works every day to deliver our nation's goods. He'd not seen a real raise in 30 years. And with the adoption of the Clean Trucks program, he will receive the fair wages and good benefits that he deserves. By turning these poverty wage jobs into good jobs, we will benefit the regional economy. And we're seeing even greater benefits from the Clean Trucks program. Truck dealerships, this is great, listen to this. Truck dealerships here in the harbor have reported a 30% increase in sales, while the sales in the rest of the nation are down 60%. Why? Because here in Los Angeles, our courage in insisting that clean trucks enter this port has created a market for clean trucks to be sold right here in the area. In fact, we just opened the first electric truck manufacturer in Harbor City. As we create new jobs at the port, we must be sure that while we do so, we take the neighboring communities like Wilmington and San Pedro into account. Working with many of you, we were able to finally craft a community benefits package that allows the port to grow, creates new jobs, but also compensates the community for the negative impacts of that growth. This package will generate close to $50 million that will go back into the community, and these funds will allow us to train a new workforce to do mitigation work like installing solar panels, double pane windows, and air filtration system, further stimulating our economy. I've always said we can have both a thriving port that is the economic engine of this region, but also happy, healthy communities. You know, we learned just this week that tourism has surpassed international trade as Los Angeles' top industry, generating 456,000 jobs and $14 billion in visitor spending. That's why I want us to continue to move forward to create tourist attractions right here in the harbor area, like our long-awaited promenade that my brother talked about. Like so many of you, I've dreamed of a grand promenade along LA's waterfront. And opening the first part of the promenade when my brother was mayor was one of my greatest memories. And today, we are finally on the verge of redeveloping Portugal Village and completing that world-class promenade that will run along the water, creating thousands of construction jobs, hundreds of long-term retail and restaurant jobs, and bringing tourists from all over the region and beyond to the harbor area to visit. And just last week, the Harbor Commission adopted the final plan for our waterfront right here in Wilmington. finally giving this community access to its waterfront and generating even more economic stimulus. You know, we do live in Los Angeles, which is the city of promise. And when people come from all over the world, they come here to realize their dreams. But for too many Angelenos, that dream has gotten more difficult to realize. I will never forget when I first heard from airport area hotel workers. Many of them had worked for the same hotel for 20 years and were still only making $10 an hour. They were not receiving benefits, and many, like my friend Isabel Salinas, she had to work 2 full-time jobs to barely make her rent every month. And worse, I heard that the service charge and tips that many of you leave were not going to the people that were serving you, but were going back to the hotel. And these workers, they're the face of tourism for Los Angeles. They're on the front lines of welcoming people from all over the world to come and have a good experience in Los Angeles. And that gave me courage to ensure that in the city of Los Angeles, at least, they will receive fair living wages plus the tips that they deserve. That is now law in the city of Los Angeles. The term working poor should be an oxymoron. People who work hard in Los Angeles should not be poor. And poverty wage jobs will not help us recover from this recession, but good jobs will. We know that for every 1 million passengers that pass through our airport, 5,000 jobs are created, and $622 million is added to our economy, which is why I've been calling to finally modernize LA International Airport. For decades, LAX has been the gateway into the U.S. for so many international visitors, but we knew that we were losing airlines and passengers to neighboring airports that were better maintained and could also accommodate that next generation of large aircraft. But under my urging and along with the support of my city council, we are embarking on a $4 billion modernization. That means real jobs in construction and an airport that we can be proud of with more airlines, more passengers, which is great for our economy. But again, when I think about modernizing the airport and spending billions to make the facilities better, I don't want to leave behind the workers who keep that airport running. Workers like Jose Hernandez, who is expected to provide wheelchair service to passengers, but who cannot even afford health insurance for him and his wife. As we better our airport, we need to make sure that Jose and his fellow airport workers also make a decent living.